Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions continues to heat up. Did you guys see how Reed got roasted this past week by Jameson Williams? Jameson Williams commenting about how he didn't even realize that Jaden Reed had gone to the game in Detroit on Thursday night because of the numbers he posted, 0 receptions for 0 yards, which got us thinking, what's going on with Jaden Reed? What's going on with the way that these snaps are shaking out? Is he fallen out of favor with the coaches, with the people who are drawing up the plays and drawing up the way that they're going to distribute the ball? It's very unusual, too, because at the beginning of the season, we thought that Jaden Reed had potential, albeit his smaller size and mostly being a slot receiver, to be the number one guy. He makes incredible plays out there. But there are some knocks on him. Joshy, you said the one knock that you noticed watching him this season is what?
Jaden Reed struggles against man coverage. All teams who prefer that style versus a zone, Jaden Reed has seen precipitous declines in his production. And I think it's largely in part not being able to get off the line. And that's why he was working with Dontayvion Wicks on route running and getting open, because he relies on finding the soft parts of zones as instead of just simply beating the man in front of him.
Is he a gadget player? And what I mean by that is he a jet sweep guy? It's like you said, Josh, he's not real good against man, so they got to kind of put him together like a puzzle. Where Devontae, who's a Hall of Famer, had no weaknesses. I'm starting to fall out of favor with this. Everyone is the same kind of receiver.
I don't think gadget is fair, because gadget to me is like more of a guy that only relies on end arounds and screens. Like a guy like Jaden Reed can win downfield, and he oftentimes plays bigger than he actually is when he is like given contested catch situations. It's just, I mean, very clearly teams are planning to not get beat by Jaden Reed. Like that's part of the game plan. And in his second year, is it surprising to see a young guy maybe struggle when there's extra attention paid to him? I don't think it's that crazy. I think that means Jaden Reed has to improve, has to keep getting better. And maybe he's hit that second-year wall a little bit, but I'm not going to say he's a gadget player.
Yeah, here's what I'm worried about, you. I'm worried about not trusting my eyes. I watched Jaden Reed, watched him in college, obviously watched him for the last few seasons with the Packers. I think he's a star. I understand that he's not like the biggest guy. I understand he's not like an AJ Green. I understand that he isn't going to go out there and out-physical the guy across the line from him. But, man, is he going to make some moves? And, man, if he gets in some open space, is he going to be a threat every time to find the end zone? And I just can't imagine not having a premium spot for him in your play calling every week. Now, I understand. We talked about this at the beginning of the season. Having a bunch of guys who are good is going to mean that some days guys don't get any targets. And we were complimenting Christian Watson a few weeks ago for handling not being a part of the game plan well. Right? Oh, here's a guy, he could complain. Here's a guy who could absolutely, become disgruntled based on how he's been used. But we were like, good on you, Christian Watson. You weren't a part of the game plan, but you have handled your business and you have been a good teammate, a good soldier. Do we need to just consider that for Jaden Reed this past week and let Matt LaFleur cook? He'll be a part of the offense. He'll be a part of the game plan going forward. It just wasn't his week. Is it as simple as that, Chew?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he's a number 2 at best right now. He's not a 1. And if you look at there's only one guy out there that is trending towards potentially being a star. One guy. One. Tucker Kraft. That's it. Jaden Reed, I think, regressed from last year. Christian Watson has regressed. Dobbs has regressed. Wicks has or plateaued. If you don't want to say regressed, they've all plateaued. No one jumped out in front. Josh?
Well, Jaden Reed had jumped out in front, and we, for a few weeks into the season, were saying, the number 1 wide receiver was just Jaden Reed all along, and he had performances to start that were very clearly obvious. I think Christian Watson has shown signs of improvement in that he's not just winning based purely on speed within his routes and within his catches, but they're all kind of in the meaty middle, and at best, you're looking at a bunch of, wide receiver 2s right now, which I think is
That's it.
an issue. Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. I'll give you some wide receiver twos. Who's better, Jaden Reed or Addison?
Addison.
Who's better, Jamison Williamson or Jaden Reed?
You could say Jamison.
I mean, see what I'm saying? You know? I mean, I think we all thought, even
those
going
both
back to
first-round
training camp,
picks?
like, yeah, Jamison was. I don't think Addison was he?
I'm pretty sure he was as well. Yeah.
He was?
So I just want to do some housekeeping here. Jamison Williams,
Yes.
that's son, and I believe
Yeah.
I said A.J. Green, and I meant A.J. Brown. So we are just
Yeah.
all over the place with
here
the
we go.
names.
There's another one. Who's the second receiver there in Philly?
Devonta Smith.
Is he better than Jaden Reed?
Yeah.
I mean, is this what they are? Because, like I said, we all expect someone to. We didn't think all of them were gonna the cream rise to the top, but there ain't no cream, and it certainly ain't at the top. I think the potential. Do you guys agree with me though? The potential star is Tucker Kraft.
I think he already is a star.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's signed, sealed, and delivered. That guy is
Okay.
He is going to be the stalwart at that position, and if you get anything out of Luke Musgrave at this point, you're just happy with it. The one star that I'm still believing the potential is Dontavian Wicks. He gets open at the highest rate in the NFL
Drops
still.
a lot of balls.
Sure.
He did.
Josh,
He caught
drops
4 out of
a
5 the
lot
last time
of
he was out there,
balls.
though.
So, Chew, how would you use
this is-
Jaden Reed? That's, I think, what we're trying to nail down here. Because it felt like last week he was not being used effectively. Last week it felt like he was
At all.
correct, yes. And I do agree that there will be times when guys have a light load. There will be times when guys are just not featured as part of the game plan. I don't understand why a guy like Jaden Reed wouldn't be, given how dynamic, given what a difference maker he has been at times. And it's not even at times. I don't want to make it seem like it's sporadic. I think that when he is targeted, he makes plays, especially downfield. I don't love all the backfield stuff for him. I don't love all of that, but I know it's a part of the offense that Matt LaFleur runs.
I look at it like this, Jen. In order for them to go anywhere, the offense has to play much better. The defense is what it is. The defense is always going to give up points in the 20s, sometimes in the 30s, if they're playing a good team.
They're averaging 30 points per game since the bye, Chew.
No, I know that. Who? You're saying Detroit?
The Packers.
I know, but look at the stats. Go to the stat sheet. It just doesn't. Like, if you gave me the stat sheet before the game, I would say Detroit won by 14. 298 offense. For us, for a good offensive performance, Jen, a good offensive performance for a game is 350 yards. That is good. That's what you should get if you are a good offense. A great offense gets 400 yards.
I think the issue
They had
in that game came down to the first 3 possessions. The issue for the Packers in the game against the Lions was the first 3 possessions. Joshy, what'd they go?
I believe it was 3 and out. Well, I don't remember.
It was like punt,
Yeah.
maybe field goal or something like that. I
Fumble
got to
from
go back.
Christian Watson.
Fumble, thank you.
Yes.
The Christian Watson fumble.
There's important context here that we need to remember. Jaden Reed wasn't as large a part of the game plan because the Lions were weak in their defensive front. They had so many injuries that they went a little bit bigger more often. Jaden Reed, not as good of a blocker as Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson. That's mostly because of his size limitations. Like, the Packers being efficient on offense, it sounds like you're trying to make it a bad thing for them, Chewy, but Josh Jacobs is a huge part of the offense. They get short fields and they convert on it, and then they're liable to rip off a 50-yard pass at any given moment. Like,
Yeah, but in order to play that kind of game where you go 50 run, 50 pass, right? You're not going to beat an explosive offense. You're not going to beat Detroit, you know? You're not going to beat Philly. I just want to see them do – you know what I want to see them do? I want to see them do what Minnesota did to Atlanta yesterday and say whatever you want, you know, about Kirk Cousins and all that. They put up 42. That was an ass-kicking, right? The defense is going to be what it is. I just don't –
Right, but you're asking.
You can hold on, Joshy. What I'm saying is, you can run this kind of offense with a 10th ranked defense, right? But these possessions, like when you play a team like Detroit, man, you got to score on a lot of possessions.
Yeah, I agree, but the problem I see here is, like, you're asking the Packers to be something they're clearly not.
Yeah, I know. But why aren't they? But why are they not? Why are they not?
Because
Tell me why they're not.
Receivers haven't emerged.
Thank you.
Because Jordan Love for the first half of the season didn't play up to his potential.
Was injured?
Yes. So, like, there's a bunch of mitigating factors. Also, Josh Jacobs is just a flat-out star. So the less touches he's getting, you would think is like a downgrade.
It's like what we say on College Game Day, guys, okay? Are you taking the ball out of Reese Davis's hands? Right? Like, you could. You could have other people handle stuff, or you could just let him cook. And that's why Reese Davis handles a 3-hour show, right? You don't got a bunch of other people out there picking up segments. You don't got a bunch of other people out there handling those things because you know you're going to get. And that's how Josh Jacobs is for this Green Bay Packers team, right?
Well, you know what would be equally as entertaining, Jen?
Tell me.
If you gave the keys to Lee Corso.
Okay. We're pivoting off.
I mean, that's kind of Depeche Mode Cure.
Yeah,
I think that would be equally as entertaining. So if you were going to take the ball up.
I don't know why you went outside of the house. It'd be like giving the keys to you on this program.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, it's bad enough when I don't have the keys.
Jaden Reed's targets week by week, guys. 1 last week, 6 the previous, 3, 2, 6, 3, 4, 6, 6, 8, 6, 2, 6. Some of those games, Jordan Love not under center. We know earlier in the year, obviously, he was injured and Malik Willis was handling the quarterbacking duties. Do those numbers seem right? I think he's averaging like 4.5 targets per game. Chew, when you think about guys who have handled that position, if you want to limit him to the slot, that's fine. Does that seem about right distribution for Jaden Reed, or does it feel low to you?
Some of it feels low. Some of it feels right on.
So you think he should be getting what? 6
I think if
per
that's
game?
your guy,
8 per game. What do you think?
No,
ideally,
I mean, I'll go back to Antonio Freeman. Free probably got 10 targets every game. You know, he's your horse, so you ride your horse. Jaden Reed's not a horse.
The Packers have also had problems with offensive plays. They just haven't run enough. And if you're as balanced as they are, those targets start to shrink. So what would be in a more conventional offense, or one we're used to with Aaron Rodgers that's throwing 35 plus
to
times
Devontae?
a game? Yeah.
I would
so like
say
those numbers all shrink.
10 or 12. No, I agree. But why do they shrink? Because your defense can't get off the damn field.
You nailed it. And then the Packers generally score pretty efficiently when they do score.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm just saying there's better teams than the Packers out there right now. There's better teams.
And we're talking specifically about the offense. Is that what you're talking about? There are better offenses out there right now in the NFC than the Packers?
Most times when you go into the playoffs, the better team wins.
Really?
Right? Like I said it last week. I said, can the Packers beat Detroit? Yes. Can they beat Yes. Can they beat Philly? Yes. Can they beat KC? Yes. Can they beat the Ravens? Yes. They can't do it 3 weeks in a row on the road.
I'm gonna pull up some explosive play rates for the NFL. I'm gonna pull them up during the break because it feels to me, tell me if I'm wrong, guys, it feels to me watching the Packers this season, Jaden Reed is your explosive play threat. And I feel like the Packers, I could be wrong on this is just my gut, I haven't pulled up the stats yet. I feel like the Packers are one of the best teams in the league. Maybe not the best, but I believe they are probably top 5, top 10 for sure in explosive plays on offense. And if you can get that production from other guys, if you can get those plays from other guys, great. And then Matt LaFleur has to do the brilliant coaching that he has been doing of telling guys, Chew, you've mentioned this before when it comes to Holmgren. I couldn't get you today, but I'll get you next time. And as long as he keeps doing that with the wide receiving core and with the pass catchers and nobody gets disgruntled, I agree that I'd like to see Jaden Reed be getting more targets with this offense. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you could argue, well, it is broke. They lost to the Lions. Sure, but they're still one of the best teams in the NFC. And I think we knew going into the season that one of the tougher things for Matt LaFleur to do was figure out how to distribute the ball amongst all of those pass catchers. So I'm a little bit intrigued by the Jaden Reed thing. I would like to see him get more targets. I would like to see him being used more in the game plan. I think he's a difference maker. But I also am inclined to believe Matt LaFleur's scheme and what he's putting together, knowing that on any given day, any one of these guys could pop and have a game.